Hey everyone, you're watching the From WordPress to Statamic YouTube channel. My name is Michael. Today we're going to talk about page builders. Now, there are a number of ways to build complex layouts in WordPress, but these days, the way to do it is the block editor. So if I was to go and edit this page, which I have open in a different tab, you can see that I have a series of blocks. So if I wanted to create something a little bit more complicated here, then I would need to leverage the blocks that I have. So all the core blocks are listed in here. So you can see there's media and sort of different design things and widgets. So if I wanted to do something with columns, for example, I could click in here and look for the columns block, and then I can select, how many columns I would want to have, and then I'd keep just adding nested blocks right within this layout. So I can add image. Let's look at the library. Let's use this guy. So now I've got another column here. Maybe I want a different image. Let's try that. Okay, and then we'll save. And as you can see, it's working pretty well and looking pretty good. But if I want to do something more complicated, I'd need to dig into these blocks a little bit more and assemble them myself to create something unique. So if I was to go back in here, you can see there's this idea of patterns where there are pre-selected blocks that are assembled and saved together that are available to you, and then you would style them all again through this interface. Now you could just stick with the ones that it comes with, but maybe they're not going to suit your use case. So you'd want something that gives you a lot more configuration that you can do yourself. And the way that you might want to do that is with something like Frost or Ollie. These are block themes that have a bunch of these things configured for you and make it a lot easier to get the design and feel that you're wanting. But as I mentioned before, these are block themes, so you wouldn't go into the code and edit them directly. If you wanted to do something like that, you would need a different approach again. Now, before the block editor came along, probably what we'd be leaning on is something called Advanced Custom Fields. So if you're familiar with WordPress development, you're probably aware of this plugin. So I have the Pro version of this plugin, which gives me something called Flexible Content, which is what I would use to create blocks that could live on my page, and I could edit them one at a time. If I go into the ACF menu, I've got this flexible content already created, and inside of there, my flexible content field already has a hero block that I've configured. If I was to go into a page, I'll edit my sample page, and down here you can see I've got my flexible content, and I've already started building out the hero content. So if I go over here, it's not appearing there even though the content is there in the editor. In order to see it on the page, I need to come over to my code editor and edit the template so that I can actually output this content on the page. Now I just need to write some PHP to get this content and display it on the page. So I'll put it above the content area here, which is going to output the actual blocks from the block editor. But I'll have my custom blocks from the flexible content fields that I've created. Flexible content, which gives me an array. So I can say for each blocks as block. And I need the path to a partial, which is going to actually have the template for this hero block. So we'll say inc flexible content / and then it's from the actual block here where I have some data called ACF Flexible Content Layout. And now we'll get the template part using the path and pass in the actual block data. And I shouldn't forget to close off PHP. There we go. If I refresh, there we go. So I have my hero block straight from ACF. Now, if I wanted to do this using the block editor, well, then I'd have to jump through a few more hoops. I could use the CLI that WordPress gives us to create a block, but that's using the JavaScript approach. And if you're a traditional PHP developer, maybe that's not what you want to do, because now you have to use React to build out your block so that it feels like a custom native block. Now I could continue to lean on ACF and do this all with PHP and skip the JavaScript and React part altogether. But why don't we instead turn to Statamic now and see how we can make a page builder very similar to what we did with ACF. So if I go over here, you can see that I borrowed some styles from my starter kit for Statamic. But if I go into the back end, just like ACF has field groups, Statamic has this idea of field sets. And I've created this page builder, and within it, I've got a bunch of things already pre-configured. A blog teaser, I have different categories for the different kinds of blocks that I want, including my hero. And my blueprint for pages has this page builder within it. So if I was to visit my home page, for example, there we go. You can see that I've made use of my hero and a few other blocks, and it works just the same way, where I can drag and drop. And if I click in to edit it, I've got all my fields right there. And if I was to look at my code, I'll just switch over here to my Statamic theme. You can see that very much like the ACF loop that I had to do in PHP, I've got this tag pair for finding my page builder field set, and then finding the partial that's associated with it. And you can see over here on the right, I've got this page builder folder with all the different blocks that I have there for each one. And to look on the home page, really that's all there is to it. So we may ask ourselves, why not stick with WordPress when we have ACF? Well, the reality is, ACF was never adopted into WP Core and never will be. Their focus is the block editor and block themes, which, while fantastic for a certain use case, this may not be the way to go if you truly want full control over the code. Statamic's field sets and blueprints are foundational to the core of Statamic, and as such are first-class citizens there. ACF Pro is a paid plugin, so you need to have a subscription to get features akin to what Statamic gives you out of the box. On top of that, I personally find it easier to use as a content editor, so I know which one I would choose given the option. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time.